The holes are in your model, and you're trying to get out of those holes by doing exactly what I said you would. You're just turning the table saying I'm oversimplifying. But in reality, what you're saying is I don't have an answer. So I'll just say, well, it's more complex than you can imagine.
Well,
but it's not.
Answer,
it's not. No, you didn't give me an answer. So you're better at math than me. You're an economist. So let me ask you this. There's 350 million roughly people in this country, right?
I think 330 million. Yeah.
Okay, 330 million. $9 trillion. How much is that per person?
I would say like probably 25 grand if I had to guess.
Okay, so then why don't we send that? Because that would only be a $9 trillion increase, which you've already admitted was marginal in inflation. So why not literally tomorrow print $9 trillion, send everyone 25,000, even if some people saved it? Surely, if I had $25,000 more in my pocket tomorrow, the velocity of which I'm spending money is going to increase, which you say is a more important metric. So I would go out and I would spend, everyone got 25, that's 50,000, that's $75,000 for my households that we have. All sorts of things that I would run out and purchase with 75,000. And we wouldn't have to worry about that increase in money supply. In fact, why stop at just 9 trillion? Surely if one 9 trillion had a marginal effect, second 9 trillion would be marginal. So another 9 trillion on that, maybe slightly more than marginal. So why not give everyone 50,000?
Yeah, no, again, I think now what you're falling victim to is an oversimplification of my argument, right? So at the same time that I'm being maybe too complicated and too jargony, now I've somehow been reduced to just give everyone money and it's not a big deal. That's not what I said.
That's not what I'm saying. You said, I'm saying, how does your rationale not lead to that being an honest question?
Yeah. So it's a great question. So I think that in general, what I would respond to is that obviously with my rationale, which is that hey, it's a very dynamic thing and these things are changing, and so it's very contextual, the analysis that you have to take into consideration. So why wouldn't I just give everyone $25,000 today? Well, it's because the economy is recovering and it's doing pretty well in that regard. There's a lot of moving parts and the economy is also not shut down anymore, right? So there's a lot more reason to expect that if we gave everyone $25,000 today, that we would probably see a lot more inflation, all else equul. I mean, the stimulus that you're talking about mostly expired.
That's clever.
Let me finish real quick. The inflation that's happening today, you would say is mostly on the back of stimulus that mostly expired at the midpoint of last year, right? So why are we seeing all of this, inflation just now, right? I mean, I think that there's a lot of problems there's a lot of holes in your model, so to say, and I think that's really what I'm trying to point out.
The holes are in your model, and you're trying to get out of those holes by doing exactly what I said you would. You're just turning the table saying I'm oversimplifying, but in reality, what you're saying is I don't have an answer, so I'll just say, well, it's more complex than you can imagine.
Well,
but it's not. It's not. No, you didn't give me an answer. Like, for example, you're saying things at a pace. I can't complain about you talking fast. I talk fast. It's not the speed of what you're saying, but it's how you gloss over things you're saying that are horribly important to your argument. And so
what did I gloss over? Tell me.
Well, let me tell you, a person that's not paying attention might think that you sound persuasive on this. So you said, well, if we gave out $9 trillion and gave every American $25,000, I think that we would see that would cause inflation in different ways. But you don't explain why. Why would it cause inflation? The only reason, again, you're saying that fundamentally the problem is that the increase in 25% of money in 2 years, right? That had a very marginal effect on inflation. The real problem is people aren't spending money. That's what you said. So no doubt, if we so let's look at it. So there are two possibilities of it causing inflation would be one, that printing so much money would actually cause inflation, which you've already said that wouldn't really be the case with just $9 trillion. And second, velocity of spending. There is no doubt under my scenario that velocity of spending would uptick. No doubt. So how do you gloss over by saying it would probably cause inflation? How would it cause inflation?
I get what you're saying. So obviously, I think you would recognize we didn't just give people $25,000, right? So obviously, the stimulus was broken up into many different programs. I think that the direct amount of money we ended up giving people was $3,200, if I'm not mistaken. I think it was $1,200, then $600, then $1,400, I want to say. And so I think that's a lot different than actually, an actual sort of robust spending package versus just giving people the money. Now, to answer your question directly, I see what you're saying, where how it might sound like I'm obfuscating. Yeah, if you were to just give people in their hands $25,000, this would all else equal, that word again, that phrase again, is probably going to be a lot more inflationary than some sort of more robust spending package that's more targeted. I mean, the thing about
Why?
spending
The
is that
question is why. That's what I'm
yeah, so
asking. Why
I
would
can
it be
answer why
inflation? Sure.
if the question is why I can answer, right? So it's because certain parts of the economy might be operating below capacity and certain parts might be operating above capacity. Like certain parts of the economy might be hotter than others. Like we talk about the macro economy in the form of averages, but obviously it's all made up of these individual components, right? So if we had a stimulus package that was focused on like I don't know, like building roads and bridges or something like that, where we're probably operating a bit below capacity. There's probably room for money to be injected and absorbed in that regard. You probably wouldn't necessarily expect that to be inflationary, especially because it makes the economy a little bit more efficient anyway. You might expect it to actually have a a knock-on effect on the economy. So that's the point. I know that in response, you might be able to say like, oh no, see, there you go, doing it again with all your jargon and overcomplicating it. But I mean, the reality is, I feel like what I've just given you is again as granular analysis as I can give in an online live stream debate or anything like that. So and I think that perfectly fits within the rationale of why some things might cause inflation and why some things won't. For instance, the stimulus back in 2008 didn't cause a lot of inflation because the economy was operating significantly below capacity and people weren't spending the money. So
all right, so I already talked about the 2008 stimulus. So the difference between actual output and projected output, the stimulus was only half of that. The difference between actual output and projected output with just the America Recovery Act was 6 times. So this is massive.
well, you're
It is the
instituting more
biggest.
variables though. I thought it was just
Well,
money printing.
Well, it again, where do you keep getting that? Like you continue to misrepresent what my argument is. I never
Well, I'm
said.
confused.
In fact,
Is
well,
is it
listen,
is
let
it
me
a
finish.
problem
In
being
fact,
complicated or is it not? That's kind
okay,
of
let me
what I'm
let me
confused
let me
about.
Hang on, guys. Rob, pick it up. Ask specifically what you want, and then Econoboi, you can get right back into it, okay? But you guys are talking over each other. I can't understand what's going on. Go ahead, Rob.
All right.
He keeps saying that like where once have I suggested that only printing is the only cause of the inflation? I thought I was quite clear that I said at the beginning of this debate, I already got what I wanted, saying that the lockdowns were horribly devastating and led to a lot of the inflation. I also think that the money printing had a big hand in it as well. So you keep alluding to the fact that I'm saying that it's only money printing that led us where we are. I'm not saying that. I'm not at all. And I'll just say this, like you constantly see people in the economic field do this sort of thing where the goalposts are moving. It was just about, it was all about velocity of spending. And as soon as I give a practical application to say, well, if increasing the money supply by 25% isn't a big deal and we want to increase the velocity of spending, then surely just send people to direct checks. And he's like, no, because some markets are hot and some are cold. And so, building a bridge would be different than giving people money. Right. But they would be spending money and they'd be spending in overwhelmingly those markets that are cooled off right now. That's why the velocity of spending is down. Now, it sounds very impressive, but it's all a clever scheme to justify we don't want the average person having the money. Fuck them. Let them struggle under inflation. Poor and working class people, more and more reliant on the government. Well, we can't give them the money. We have to give it to our corporate friends. We have to give it to government spending. It's okay for us to print $9 trillion. Well, what happens is we can see the large transfer of wealth that happens every time we do that. If you're going to print money and it's not a big deal and you want people to spend more, give the people the money. But they won't do it because they know the same people will say, well, we can't just print money like that willy-nilly because if we do, it'll have all kinds of inflationary pressures because they're admitting that the massive printing of money like that has all sorts of inflationary and economic pressures. So it's constantly this, just trust us. We know more about this than you. There are hot and cold markets. It's not just about velocity. It's not, sometimes printing money would cause inflation, but this time we assure you it didn't, et cetera, et cetera. It's nonsense. And it's used as a clever scheme to not admit that the policies you endorsed were wrong and that they screwed over poor and working class people.